Bitcoin miners get a bad rap for being consumers of electricity, boiling the oceans, and blah, blah, blah. It couldn't be any more wrong. Without Bitcoin miners, who are big consumers of electricity, assisting these grids to get the power up, they're going to have to do rolling blackouts like they did in California. That's the only other option. If you
Right.
don't power the grid up to the level of maximum usage, you're going to have blackouts. You're going to have forced blackouts.
Hey, everybody, it's Stuart Smith at SmallCapVoice.com, and I am so happy to be welcoming back our friend at Bitmine Immersion Technologies, and that is Jonathan Bates. He is the CEO of the company. Jonathan, it's been a little while since we've had you on the show. I almost forgot what you look like. It's been a summer for both of us. I'll put it that way. But welcome back. Great to be speaking with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I remember what you look like, so.
It's hard to forget this face, isn't it? The face only a mother could love. I'm glad I
Oh,
still have
stop.
one.
Stop.
Listen, let's get right to it. Big news for your company, a second record quarter in terms of revenue. So that's consecutive record quarters in terms of revenue. Financial filing in on time. Let's talk about it. Let's get your take on it.
Yeah, so proud of our results. Obviously, the halving took place during the quarter. So, to have a record quarter on top of the previous one where there was no halving, we're pretty proud of that. That was a combination of really the whole, we were front loading as much as we could. We leased some miners at one point during the quarter. It's something we want to try and do more often, these types of transactions where we can lease machines and obtain the revenue from them in addition to mining with the machines that we have. So we're trying to be creative as much as possible as we can. Another thing you'll see customer deposits and back and forth. So we took in a deposit on some transformers. Now I'd mentioned before, like we want to get more into the resale business, and really that's really what that's about. We are looking to aggressively try and sell equipment. And so that actually was not reflected in the revenue. It's just a deposit. The way the accounting works, you don't get to book it until it's completed. So we hope that it will completed about almost $1.5 million order will be done
In this
in
current
this quarter.
quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have that. So we did 1.2 million, I think, roughly of revenue in the quarter prior. So that alone would beat our previous record of this quarter. So that'll be a big swing amount. The mining revenue thus far is is down because we don't have as much pre-halving revenue with the same machines. But I got a few interesting things I'm working on. Maybe I'll be able to, when I can talk about it, I will. But that might not be as much of a problem, So I'm working on that.
I know you always are working, and that's the thing about you working, traveling, and we're trying to keep up with you. And we handle the social media for the company. And that's really one of the things I wanted to talk about because you are out there on the road producing, making deals, and we're going to get into those deals a little bit later in this interview. Let's talk then about, of course, what we're here for is this quarterly filing, and everybody can find that, of course, at sec.gov or OTC Markets, or here on the Newswire. You can see the press release from the company regarding that. But I want to grab you now and talk a little bit about these months we're in, May, June, halfway through July right now. Talk to me a little bit about what your focus has been on.
You get a lot of these hot months, and you got to focus on, you get a little more requests for demand response from the grids and things like that. But I think you wanted to talk about that at some point. But I'm really, I'd say bigger picture focused is I'm aggressively pursuing mergers and acquisitions opportunities, that are good, that are beneficial for the shareholders. That's a big part of my time. I don't have anything. I have no LOIs right now or anything. I've had active discussions. I've kicked the tires on some stuff. There's some in live talks as we speak, but I don't have anything where I can't talk about it yet.
Sure.
Other than just NDAs that we have with different companies. But that's when it gets to that point, I will, and I can discuss it more, or can't discuss it at all. Glad to reveal wherever that stands. But
Oh,
that
I
is where
like that though. That's kind of one of our questions was what your philosophy was as it is related to that. So, has anybody reached out to your company? And if they did reach out to your company, are you open to it? And that's a yes and a yes so far. Can you talk about it in detail? That's a no. So when the LOI is inked, that'll hit the press wire, then we can jump on here. But I think I can get a resounding yes because that's what you just told us. Hey, this is what I'm working on right now. Something that's accretive to the shareholders, something along the lines of a merger, something along the lines of an acquisition, one of the two. So I think, am I putting words in your mouth on that one, Jonathan, or no?
no. So yeah, they're in different varieties. The varieties are we've been approached to take over the whole company, which I don't know, maybe that works out, but that's one possibility. To possibility two is a minnow swallowing a whale deal where we buy someone much bigger than us that isn't public, most likely that wants to be public, but it's accretive to our shareholders and it's beneficial to everyone. And number three is okay, we partner with some people on specific things. And I've had all three kinds of conversations. I am working on that up list regardless. And so, I've got I've got that in the works too. And so yeah, I'm just doing anything I can to deliver value to the shareholders. Really, I'm indifferent as to what works out. As long as it's good for the shareholders, it's good for me too, and it's good for all of us. So
Well, you're one of the largest shareholders. I mean, you've been self-financing this for quite a while as well. So, and I know the story, the backstory. In fact, you can find out about how Jonathan came into being the CEO for this company. It's back in our earlier interviews, but you brought something up and it's timely, of course. I mean, we've never seen heat like this in places like Las Vegas and the deserts of California. And there are mining operations in both of those areas. So let's talk about that because before we started covering it on social media for you, that was something you brought up to us, this grid response and how miners can assist the grid under these excruciating and unusual circumstances when there's such high demand on the grids from air conditionings and electricity needed to cool and keep people alive for that matter. It's a big topic now on social media, grid response, and everybody wants to know what's BMNR doing in regards to grid response, and are they speaking to grids? Are there future, I'm just reading it right now, are they opening up more sites in the future to take advantage of locations that could use this sort of thing? Let's talk about it.
yeah, so two places where we're active right now, which is West Texas and Kentucky, um, both have different forms of grid balancing efforts, and so the way a grid works is, I didn't know this before I got into mining, but during these hot months, grid it takes a long time to power up a grid and power it back down. And in an ideal situation, you kind of have to power up the grid to the point where you're gonna to its point of maximum potential usage. So, if you don't do because so that means, but if a deliverer of electricity does that, then they're just wasting electricity to get the grid up to a level where it can deliver to the highest possible point. It takes a long time to put it back down. So, under the best case scenario, you have takers of power at off peak hours that are willing to allow you to go up to that highest possible point, and they get a better rate for the power, but they agree to turn their to when told or on schedule turn off their electricity completely so that those who need it, like the consumers, are able to use it. The Bitcoin miners get a bad rap for being consumers of electricity, boiling the oceans, and blah blah blah. It couldn't be any more wrong because without Bitcoin miners who are big consumers of electricity assisting these grids to get the power up, they're going to have to do rolling blackouts like they did in California. That's the only other option. If you
Right.
don't power the grid up to the level of maximum usage, you're going to have blackouts. You're going to have forced blackouts. And so it's really an assistance mechanism. So we've got paid for demand response where we get a more favorable rate and a credit when we turn off in Texas. And in Kentucky, we're part of Tennessee Valley Authority there. And so that's actually scheduled to be down 6 hours a day every workday during the workday and during the hottest hours. And so it's that one's pre-planned. It's a little more reactive in Texas, but that's the big part of our it's good for everyone. We get a better rate. They get to maximize the use of their grid to help the consumers as well as make money, for the utility as well.
All right, well, let's sum it up. Back-to-back consecutive quarters of record revenue. Jonathan's a busy person. I've got a face only a mother can love. The company is looking at different M&A opportunities. The months here in July and August that are coming up, more grid response talk will be happening. We'll be dealing with this more on social media. Jonathan, any closing thoughts or comments for the shareholders and listeners?
No, other than I'm doing the best that I can to deliver consecutive quarter over quarter records in any way that I can, whilst also pursuing M&A deals and uplist that is going to help the shareholders. I'm doing all these at the same time. That is my 100% 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 a year focus.
Well, and I think it's about time, honestly, that more people pay attention to this company. Ticker symbol BMNR. It's easy. It's not a deep dive to go through these financials and see the growth in the company and see the moves that Jonathan is making. Yes, this is a diamond in the rough. Yes, it has a long ways to go, but this is a ground floor opportunity in a market where, look, so many of these stocks are overinflated and just fat when you look at their balance sheets and their income statements. There's just too much fat. This is a lean operation. Jonathan's doing it pretty much, as he just pointed out, a lot of it on his own. Jonathan, thanks for making time for us. We're going to reach back out to you right after Labor Day, see how things are coming along, foreshadow that next quarter that'll be coming out as well, and talk a little bit about the operations and what we can expect for you in the colder months. And we can't wait for those to get here next. Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Jonathan Bates, he's the CEO of Bitmine Immersion Technologies Incorporated, traded on the OTCQX under the ticker symbol BMNR. Find the company on your favorite platform and make sure you do your due diligence. Hit the subscribe button, leave a comment for Jonathan. We'll make sure to get it onto the next episode. For Jonathan Bates, this is Stuart Smith saying thanks so much for listening.